Okay, so today we're doing more than just talking about a movie star. We're going to break down a masterclass in total transformation. We're talking about the actual blueprint Sylvester Stallone used to take everything people saw as a weakness and turn it into one of the most legendary physiques of all time. So let's get into it.
I mean, just think about that for a second. This was his starting point. Forget all those stories you hear about genetic freaks or Hollywood nepotism. Stallone's story starts with a no. A big, fat, you can't do this. This quote, man, it just perfectly captures the insane odds he was up against right from the get-go.
And wow, what a journey, right? On one hand, you've got what everyone else saw, a bunch of so-called flaws. And on the other, what he became. Rocky Balboa, John Rambo, absolute icons. And let's be clear, that gap between those two columns, it wasn't bridged by luck, not even close.
And this right here, this is the heart of the whole story. You got to get that idea out of your head that he was just born that way. It's just not true. This body wasn't some genetic lottery win. It was forged. It was the direct result of just insane determination and a work ethic that would break most people. He built it. It wasn't handed to him.
Okay, so that naturally leads to the big question, how did he do it? See, Stallone's workouts were never random. It wasn't just, let's get huge. No, every single exercise had a purpose. He was literally sculpting a character, one rep at a time.
And this is where you see how smart his approach was. Think about it. For Rocky, he had to look like a boxer, lean, shredded, agile. But for Rambo, totally different ballgame. He needed to look like a walking tank, a jungle soldier with raw, unstoppable power. Two completely different characters, which meant two completely different training plans. So where do you even begin with something like that? Well, you start at the foundation. Before all the beach muscles, the biceps, and the chest, Stallone built his engine. He built his armor, and that means we're talking about cardio and core.
This guy would run for miles, not just to get his heart rate up, but to forge mental toughness. And the sit-ups? Hundreds of them. He was building armor around his midsection. But here's the most important part for you and me. You don't have to start there. The whole journey can kick off with a simple 10-minute walk with just 5 sit-ups. That's it. All right, with that engine built, he started working on the frame, the muscles that give you that classic heroic look. And Stallone's chest and back, they weren't just big for the sake of being big. They were sculpted, detailed, and built to look powerful no matter which way the camera turned. He stuck to the classics, things like incline presses, flies, and a whole lot of pull-ups to carve out that signature V-taper. The goal wasn't just size. It was to look like he had real, usable strength. And you know what's incredible? You can start building that exact same foundation with the simplest exercises on the planet. We're talking push-ups, even just hanging from a bar to build that initial grip and back strength. And now, let's talk about the money makers for these roles, right? The arms and shoulders. For characters like Rocky and Rambo, these were absolutely critical. They were his on-screen weapons. And believe me, he trained them with an almost obsessive level of detail.
Yeah, he was all about symmetry and that sharp, defined look. He used all the tools in the toolbox, curls, dips, presses, you name it. But the real lesson here, especially if you're just starting, isn't to go super heavy. It's about control. It's about consistency. Remember, your muscle doesn't know if you're lifting 5 pounds or 50 pounds. All it knows is tension. That's the secret. Okay, but look, all of these exercises, all this physical work, it was all being fueled by something way, way more powerful. We have to look past the workouts and get to the mindset, because the real strength, it was never in the muscle to begin with.
When you really look at it, his whole philosophy kind of breaks down into 3 simple, powerful rules. 1. Push harder. Go to that place that other people aren't willing to go. 2. Refuse to settle. Good enough is the enemy. And 3, maybe the most important of all, never, ever quit. Just keep showing up. Because consistency and resilience, they crush excuses every single time.
And that right there, that's the magic trick. That's the real lesson. For Stallone, the gym was just a training ground for life. The discipline it took to lift that weight was the exact same discipline he used to write Rocky, to fight for the role, to build his entire career from nothing. And you've got to realize, this wasn't just a 1-hour-a-day thing. It was a 24/7 commitment. His body wasn't just built in the gym, it was built in the kitchen too.
He saw food as fuel, lean proteins, good carbs, and maybe most crucially, he knew that the real growth happens when you're resting. Recovery and sleep, that's when the magic happens.
So when you boil it all down, what was Stallone's real superpower? It wasn't his arms, it wasn't his abs, it was his willpower. It was that rock-solid, unbreakable belief that the mind leads and the body, well, the body has no choice but to follow.
So there you have it. We've seen the physical blueprint, we've dug into the mindset. But now, let's turn the camera around and make this about you, because every great transformation story, including Stallone's, starts in the exact same place, with a single decision.
Think about it. Stallone was told his face was wrong, his voice was wrong, his body was too skinny. He was handed a list of reasons why he was guaranteed to fail. So I'll ask you directly, what's your excuse?
It all comes down to the number one. One choice, one push-up, one walk, one meal that's a little bit better than yesterday's. You don't have to climb the whole mountain in a day. You just have to be willing to take that very first step. And maybe that's the most freeing idea in all of this. The goal isn't to become Rocky tomorrow. It's not about perfection. The real win, the real victory, is just progress. It's about ending today just a tiny bit better than you started it. So, let's wrap it up with this. Sylvester Stallone started out as an underdog, a beginner with a long list of weaknesses. But he took every single one of those weaknesses and hammered them into his greatest strengths. He refused to quit. So the only question that really matters now is, what are you going to do with your beginning?